Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this Perth County Council meeting for Thursday, November 20th. I'm Warden Doug Kellum, and I'll officially call this meeting to order. I ask the clerk to note the starting time is 9 a.m. Everyone can please bow their heads for a moment of reflection. Thank you. We acknowledge that Perth County is situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe, who have a long-standing relationship with the land and water throughout the region. We honor and respect the history, languages, and culture of the diverse Indigenous, Métis, and Inuit people who call this territory home. As a county, we have a responsibility for reconciliation and the continued stewardship of the land on which we live and work. Does anyone have any peculiar interest to declare at this time? Seeing none, if it does arise throughout the meeting, please disclose then. Confirmation of the agenda. Are there any additions for today's agenda? Seeing none, motion that reads that the November 20th, 2025 agenda be approved. Moved by Councillor Smith, second by Councillor McKenzie. All those in favor? And that is carried. Council, today we have 15 items on the consent agenda. Is there anything that any colleagues would like to extract to discuss? Councillor Kaysenberg.
Item 6.3, Warden.
Okay. Anyone else? See none? Go ahead, Councillor.
Yes, thank you, and good morning, colleagues and Warden Kellum. North Perth, of course, rapidly growing community has had the opportunity to consider the report from the county earlier delivered with regards to the road rationalization study, and in fact undertook an additional effort to have a peer review undertaken of that study, given some of the consequences to North Perth in the short, medium, and even long term. And so North Perth Council has brought forward a resolution which was passed inviting the county to undertake a transportation master plan. It's believed that while the road rationalization study largely was sort of a point in time and looked at our current circumstances in the road network of the county, including some of the roads nominated by lower tier municipalities for possible consideration of upload, we need to be thinking more futuristically about the county road network and the lower tier network and how those two interface with each other. And so we have, as a council in North Perth, called for the idea of a transportation master plan for the county, something that we have done in North Perth, and that allows us to sort of plan the 15 to 25 year horizon for roads in our growing community. So I did want to have this pulled and ask staff for any comments, if I might, about the viability of doing a transportation master plan for Perth.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Who would like to speak to that? Go ahead, John.
Thank you. Through the Warden, just so that council is aware, we have been notified of this request from North Perth. We did present the road rationalization study to North Perth, I think that was in August or September. Just for further clarification, their peer review didn't find anything necessarily wrong with the road rationalization study. However, it's a study that does not consider growth, and that's obviously something very important to North Perth and the town of Listowel. So that's where all their concerns really center around, and obviously they are looking at a truck bypass in Listowel. This was identified in our road rationalization study, and one of the recommendations from our consultant was to work directly and in concert with North Perth in the future on this. So that council is aware, in the upcoming 2026 budget, a transportation master plan is budgeted for already. It is something that Bill Wilson and I have been discussing over the years, and just so that council is aware, a transportation master plan would be a great benefit to the entire county and not just specifically for this purpose.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. I'm delighted to hear that staff has considered and will bring forward something with regards to funding a transportation master plan to county. I think, to Mr. McClellan's comments, it will benefit all of us. And I am looking not just as the North Perth hat here, but as the county hat to the benefit of the county as well.
Thank you for your comments. Councillor Agates?
Through your word, excuse me, it is nice to see. I do have a little issue at North Perth. They want to grow, and that's great, but not at the expense of the rest of us. If Perth East grew Milverton like they are growing Listowel, I wouldn't expect the county to come up with our truck road. I think it should be up to North Perth to do that. You've allowed your town to grow, and that's great, but don't come back and ask the county to take and fix the road so you can have a truck drive around it. That's just kind of where I'm at.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Deputy Warden Trentowski?
Thanks, Warden Kellum, through you. Listening to all the comments so far, I guess, yeah, I would think that proceeding with the transportation master plan, looking at that would be in order, given the comment yesterday from one of the speakers at Perth Municipal Day, Aaron Martin, Stratford Chamber of Commerce. He mentioned in his presentation about Port of Goderich expanding by perhaps 20 acres or more, increasing the shipping of salts, aggregates, and particularly the containers. When you get into containers, you're talking about trucks, you're talking about rail, and Highway 8 is a very narrow corridor. It's already a heavily used corridor, which in effect would ultimately consequentially lead to overflow traffic onto county roads and local roads. So if there is going to be growth, then as Councillor Kaysenberg has suggested and Councillor Agates has alluded to, then it would be wise to undertake a master plan that looks into the future. If there's going to be growth, we have to get ahead of it and get it figured out before it becomes a bigger problem in the future. So I would be supportive of endeavoring, as Mr. McClelland had indicated, including that in the budget and looking to include that in future discussion. Thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Councillor Orr?
Maybe this is going to come down to when we have our budget discussion so that we could see what it's going to cost.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, thanks everyone. I have a motion that reads as follows. The council receives the consent agenda items 6.1, 6.15, excluding 6.3, and approves the November 6, 2025 council minutes. Moved by Councillor McDermott, second by Councillor Wilhelm. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Moving on our agenda, there's no public meetings, hearings, and delegations, so we'll get right into staff reports. 8.1, planning services. I believe Moria is coming up. Good morning, Moria.
Good morning, Council. I'm here before you to present a report on a recent legislation change that's being proposed by the provincial government. The details of which are in the report itself. I'm here just to provide a summary for you. I'm here to ask that or look for council direction to submit comments to the province through the ERO regarding the concerns that we have about the proposed change that they're making. So Bill 60 was released on October 23rd, 2025. I will note that the third reading of this bill is on the agenda for provincial legislature today. The commenting period is to end on November 22nd, but I'm hoping to submit comments kind of immediately following this meeting so that we can ensure that the comments are received by the province before they make their decision. Before I speak to the comments, I just want to provide a summary of Bill 60. So the key changes that are being made are to a number of acts, but I'm focusing mostly on those that relate to planning and development and those that would impact the county directly. The summary includes the DC Act changes. So key changes include the merging of water and wastewater credits. There'll be a creation of a new service class specific to land acquisition. There's going to be a standardization of DC background studies, as well as the information included in those studies, as well as the process required to undertake such studies, including the mandatory requirement for those studies to be provided to the minister, as well as those bylaws being provided to the minister on an annual basis. Next, there's changes to the Water Act and the Environmental Protection Act that surround permissions to increase sewage capacity and sewage systems, private sewage systems on agricultural properties for the use or for the increase in farm worker housing on those lots. So that is the second kind of act or key change that's being made. And then the third one is changes to the Planning Act. So we're seeing that there's a proposal to exempt past, current, and future minister decisions from requiring to be consistent with the PPS, the provincial planning statement. There's a proposal for blanket permissions to be included as of right through regulations. Essentially, this would allow as of right variances from zoning bylaws. So the maximum and minimum standards that are currently in zoning bylaws through a regulation, there would be a permission for, let's say, a 10% variance or 15% variance. We saw this in the spring with Bill 5 or Bill 17, one of the two that happened in the spring, and this was to permit setbacks as of right. They're now looking to permit variances of building height and lot coverage, but my understanding and my read of the policy as it currently stands is that it would be a blanket as of right permission in the Planning Act, and then the regulations would dictate what the specific variances can be from. There's also a proposal to delegate or permit the delegation of site plan approval to staff. And then there's also the minister is able to regulate timelines for site plan agreements and regulate the clearing of conditions for those site plan applications. So now that kind of provides a summary of what the proposal is proposing, I wanted to get into kind of some of the concerns and comments that we have as staff. So I was able to communicate and speak with our Public Works Department as well as our Finance Department to kind of bring you a fulsome review of these changes. Regarding the DC Act, we have some concerns that the combination and merging of the water and wastewater credits is not going to allow for the appropriate alignment of infrastructure with growth. There's also some concerns that the proposed changes will limit the ability for the county to potentially request or look into providing DCs at a county level, but it most definitely is going to impact our lower tier and our local municipalities and their ability to collect and pay for growth. Specifically due to the DC Act is looking to defer DC payments. So the alignment with infrastructure and growth is just going to be more disconnected. There's also potential to compromise long-term capital strategies, and there is potential for overall financial loss for the county and our local municipalities. As for the changes to the Water Act and the Environmental Protection Act, we have concerns that the proposal, as it's currently written, will potentially lead to a disconnect of development in our agricultural system. The increase in water capacity, it's based on an understanding that 10,000 and like a 10,000 liters of sewage per hectare is needing to be 10 acres. So while it's increasing capacity from 10,000 to 50,000, each additional 10,000 needs its own 10 acres of land. So that will result in development occurring away from farm building clusters, and the potential for, and what we're seeing, because there's no safeguards in place, the potential for future severances in our agricultural properties and our agricultural areas. There is no safeguard to say that, say, a farm worker housing is built and it's built 10 acres away from the existing farm cluster. There's nothing currently in there that says that that has to be removed once the farm worker housing is no longer required. So we just have concerns with the disconnect of and the sprawl and sporadic kind of development that could occur through this policy. And the next would be the Planning Act modifications. The exemptions from the minister, both past, current, and future decisions from the minister being exempt from being consistent with the PPS, essentially is in our opinion, making the planning process obsolete. There's also some concerns with how planning staff are required or going to be making decisions and guiding development in keeping with the PPS. If a minister decision, which could be the approval of an official plan, is not in keeping with the PPS. So there's a big disconnect there, and we're looking for some guidance on direction from the province, if this bill is to pass, on how we should be directing growth in the future, if there's not a requirement anymore to use that overarching policy to guide our development. There's also consultation outside of the changes to the Planning Act that are required to or looking to regulate minimum lot sizes, potentially removing minimum lot sizes, and what our opinion is on that. We have some concerns that with the removal of minimum lot sizes, we could potentially get more estate type lots developed in our urban areas, which wouldn't be an efficient use of our land or infrastructure and would result in us needing to expand our boundaries even further than what we had just done in our official plan review. So that's one of our concerns with lot sizes. And then we just want to make sure that development is done efficiently when we're looking for if lot sizes are being removed, then other standardized regulations need to be implemented to ensure that we're safeguarding our land and infrastructure. Lastly, there's proposed changes to standardize and simplify official plans. This would require that all official plans in the province follow the same format, follow the same chapter titles, include the same land use designations, and be kept to a specific page limit. We think that there's potential the existing template that's being shared online for comment is considering an urban setting. So we would request that the province, considering maybe a rural and an urban template for use, so that the areas such as Perth County, where we have more priorities other than urban growth, are able to appropriately plan our communities. And finally, there's just some consideration regarding the official plan review that municipalities such as the county who have recently undertaken official plans, they be allowed to update our official plan in keeping with the proposed template during our standard 5-year review, rather than having to update our official plan immediately following the adoption of this template, simply because it would require a rewrite of our official plan just to make sure that it aligns with this template. So that summarizes the comments I have, or planning staff have on this legislature, and as well as a summary of it. As I stated before, we're looking for council direction to submit these comments, which are outlined in detail in the report. And I'm happy to answer any follow-up questions that any of you may have right now.
Thank you for your report. Go ahead, Councillor Kasenberg.
Thank you, Ms. Davidson, for the report. Indeed, I can attest to having read this and two reactions. One, difficult to keep up. We have seen what feels like a turnstile of provincial planning policy over the last 4 years, let's say. That's sort of what it feels like it started, but it could even be longer than that. And so it's like a constantly moving target. I empathize greatly with our planning staff, just trying to make sense of it and keep on top of it. And it seems every time you've sort of got the analysis down, you have to do another one. And so I have to admit, this is a bit mystifying why we're going through this turnstile of planning. On the second piece, I'm a marketing and learning guy, sometimes a fundraising guy, and there's a lot of technical detail in here that it's pretty hard to become familiar with, even as an elected official, right? And so first, my pleasure is to say to you, thank you for the detailed analysis. It kind of blows my brain and hurts my brain when I'm reading it. But I appreciate it, and I absolutely think that it is incumbent on us to submit all of the comments that you've recommended to us. There are probably even more, and there's probably more bombs hidden in all of this. But I certainly think we should respond. The cynic in me takes note of third reading happening almost immediately, and therefore this is yet another exercise that we've seen from a senior level of government where here we are, we're invited to offer comment, but the legislation's passed before the comment period actually ends. And maybe that's all good, because maybe the regulations will be held in abeyance until there's some consideration, but am I holding my breath on this? Not particularly. So yes, I thank you. I think we must offer our comment. I am gravely concerned, and Councillor Angus and I were exchanging eyeballs as we were looking at this, gravely concerned about the sewage waste capacity issue and the tanks creating spread, essentially, in 10-acre groupings across agricultural land. This makes a mockery of what we're trying to do in rural Ontario to preserve agricultural land and make sure that our farms are whole and functioning and feeding Ontarians and the world. And so I can only hope that this was sort of a rapidly thought out, or maybe not thought out, mistake that the province has made on this particular issue. But if it isn't, if there's some kind of design or scheme to this from the province, there's some kind of intention in this, and they would argue that they thought this out, they need to replace some staff who are working on this, because there's a serious problem with this notion. And once again, I detect through your comments, through what I tried to understand in the report, that there's seemingly not a big focus on rural land and rural taxpayers and those who live and celebrate living in rural Ontario. And there's something seriously wrong with that continuing prevailing attitude showing up in significant policy that will affect the fabric of our experience and our gracious living in rural Ontario. I know, and I can say, we are committed to improving density and increasing density in our areas, because we know that we live on some of the most important farmland in all of the country, if not all of the continent. And so for us to see these kind of policies that continue to erode that ability to manage this very important sector of human endeavor is startling and mystifying, and I just don't get it. And we need to knock some heads together to get people to understand what's going on with this kind of stuff. And yet it appears that it will be rushed and finished by next week. by the province. So I'm all for the comments. There's more than I do than just comment on this, but anyway. Sorry for my
Well done, no.
sorry for my passion board, but this is taking me off.
Councilor Higgins?
You, Warden Kellum, I agree wholeheartedly with Councillor Kasenberg's comments. It seems like we're going backwards. You know, we're trying to do density. Now they're telling us that there's no minimum lot size. They want to pump buildings all over our rural community, and yet we're trying to get them in the cluster so they can't sever them. But I'm wondering if we should be meeting with our MPP and talking to them and, you know, voice our concerns of what's going on. I know this is all going to pass next week, and we can send our comments in, but I'm wondering if we should be contacting him. Maybe perhaps all the mayors should contact him, as well as the warden, and just say, you know, we're deeply concerned of what's going on in our province, because I think we're going backwards instead of forwards here.
I like that idea. Thank you. Councilor McDermott?
I'm not going to give such a passionate speech like Bob. I'm not that good a speaker. But just a couple questions. If you could explain to me what these wastewater and water credits are, and if anything in your reading, did they, like if they're talking about lot size, like it could be bigger, it could be maybe smaller. But a lot of times when we're dealing with anything, it's always dealing with grading and the moving of stormwater and things like that. So in any of your reading, was there anything mentioned about that? Or is that something that you've noticed in there? Because a lot of times something's done and then later on there's a problem with the water. So I just wondered if you could explain those two, please.
Through the wording, just regarding the wastewater and water credits. So as it currently stands, through DCs, wastewater and water credits are taken separately.
But just what is the credit? How do you get a credit for it?
Through the credit is, it's the DC payment. So
Okay.
you pay $10, it's not 10, let's say $10 for water and $10 for wastewater when you're doing a development. That's then held by the municipality to go towards, you know, your $10 of wastewater goes towards improving the wastewater system. Your $10 of water goes towards improving the water system. But the current proposal is that it's going to be a combined credit. So you can pay for, you know, $20 for wastewater and water, but it only goes towards water, when you still need, you know, pipes in the ground to handle sewage and effluent and whatnot. So that's that proposal there. As for the minimum lot sizes, the current.
It's more about the grading and the handling of stormwater and things like that. Like
No, I haven't had a chance to read anything regarding grading or water runoff. The lot sizing is just a reduction or a removal of it from regulation through the Planning Act. So my assumption is that they would hope that through other processes, building permits, that grading and water runoff would be accommodated.
Good, thank you. Councilor Orr?
Thank you for the report. I think the planning department really does go deep into this, and I would echo the comments made by Mayor Cassidy. Yesterday was brought up from Ethan Wallace of the OFA that they could lobby for us. And if we're too short on this to make the comments, and if our comments aren't going to be effective, I still would agree to send them in. But can we not get the OFA? Is that not an avenue that they could help us?
Okay. Anyone else? Deputy Warden?
Yep, thanks, Warden Kellum, through you. Thanks, Moira, for your detailed report. I agree 100% with comments made so far. To Councillor Katenberg, being somewhat of a technical guy, my mind was blown as well reading this report, to the point where I contacted the building department at West Perth and I asked them to explain to me, for context, what 50,000 liters of sewage outflow translates to, and the answer I got back was 200 people. I cannot currently envision in present or future anywhere in Perth County where a rural farm related business will require sewage for 200 people. 50,000 liters. And to give it a different context, a typical highway tanker that hauls liquids, fuel, whatever, is 44,000 liters. So this is like a tanker truck and a bit for one location, and multiply that across the county or the province. That makes no sense to me. And I agree with the concern about the removal of the minimum lot sizes. How many times at land division have we discussed what the parameters should be for the sizing of a lot between planning staff recommendations, between the deliberations with the members of the land division committee about finding exactly where that line should be on a severance? Like that issue is still important for us to figure out. And the potential for future farm severances, I find what they're proposing in this bill to be utterly annoying. And as Councillor Agat said, it's going backwards, not forward. To Councillor Orr's point about the OFA, I agree, we should get support from the OFA, because what this bill is representing is it's an end run about what the government tried to do 2 years ago when they proposed, I believe it was 3 severances per 100-acre farm lot. And OFA, that was introduced April before the Easter weekend. And by the May long weekend, the government was backpedaling on that 100% because farm groups like the OFA and other farm groups and other municipalities got together and said, no, this is wrong. We do not want this. So I agree that we should, what was done 2 years ago in that effort should be done again this time, as forcefully and as strongly as possible in the short amount of time that we've got. And the other thing I'll add, Warden, is I will go to page 59 of Moira's report. I won't read the whole paragraph, but over the past year alone, there have been at least 12 bills and regulations released by the province that have significantly changed the planning policy and the development framework with Ontario. And in her verbal report, Moira explained how difficult and onerous it is for not only this staff, but this council to try and make sense of any of this stuff. And if somebody wanted to, there's no media here today, again, unfortunately, but if somebody in the media truly wanted to report on a story of significance and importance to this county and this region, this report highlights it in spades. I'm totally frustrated when I open up my agenda and I try and make sense of what the province is trying to do. Not only when I do work for this council, when I do work for my own local council, and when I go do my work for my conservation authority, trying to represent the people that elected me to be a responsible elected official. It frustrates me to no end. Every day I wake up, oh, this is different, that's different. Comment, oh, well, you have to comment by the end of next week. Legislation, oh, well, it's already in second reading, heading for third reading. Where's the accountability in all of that? I see no accountability there. Somebody has to answer for this. And I'm not going to allow myself or this council to be sitting holding the bag for somebody else's poorly thought of ideas. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Obviously a hot topic this morning. Anyone else like to make comments? Seeing none, we will take it, discuss after we want to discuss with, maybe talk to the OFA and the.
Yeah, so through the warrant, I could go ahead and add into the resolution if you want me to read out everything.
Yes, if you wouldn't mind.
Perfect, okay. So through the warrant, the resolution would read that council receives the fall 2025 provincial legislation changes report, and that council directs planning staff to submit comments to the Environmental Registry of Ontario, ERO, and that council directs planning staff to forward the fall 2025 provincial legislation changes report to the lower two municipalities for information. And that council directs staff to ask for support and provide comments to MPP Matthew Ray and to the Ontario Federation of Agriculture, capturing what I believe was discussed this morning.
Is that sufficient? Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Kaysenberg, second by Councillor Orr. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Maury. Moving on to 8.2.1, Economic Development and Tourism. Morning, Justin and Ricky.
Great, so through the word, I'm happy to be here to give the Perth County Economic Development and Tourism November update. I won't go through the report in detail. It's pretty much in a summary of the activities we've completed in the interim between the last report, as well as some of the plans that we have in the very near future, as well as looking ahead to 2026. Would just quickly highlight a couple of upcoming events that we're working with. Use this opportunity to mention our Lunch and Learn on brand storytelling that's coming up next week. We hosted one a couple weeks ago back in North Perth around preparing for crisis, helping our business community be prepared for those events that may cause disruptions. Had our emergency management staff there, as well as insurance and financial planning. So that was an event that was well received. And then we have another one coming up next week. And then also next week, we are working with the Mitchell District High School to do a Pathways and Destinations event. An opportunity for educational institutions, training institutions, and our local businesses to showcase careers to high school age students at Mitchell High School. So just would like to use this opportunity to, if there's any other businesses who would like to be part of that, we are still actively recruiting and welcome additional businesses to join us. We've already got a significant representation across industries in the region who are being a part of that. So again, just a quick update on a few things, but welcome any questions related to the report.
Thank you for the report. Any questions or comments for Justin or Ricky? And at this time, resolution that reads, that council receives the Economic Development and Tourism November 2025 update report for information. Moved by Councillor Wilhelm, second by Councillor McDermott. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to corporate services, 8.3.1, 2026 budget format and timeline. Morning, Corey.
Good morning, Cal. Sorry, I've been out under the weather, but here to present this report to council. County staff presents annually a 3-year operating and 10-year capital budget to council. Through the discussions in 2025, we had forecasted in 2026 a levy increase of just over 11%. And to know a 1% levy impact to Perth County for 2026 is just over $250,000. Through that, Perth County staff are in phase 2 of the budget document related to pulling this information together for council for review. Through that, also there was some discussion back in 2024 about the process in relation to streamlining and bringing the number of pages within the budget binder down. So through discussion with staff and other municipalities, a new format was provided in 22, and we also did that into 2025. But through that, the overall conversation was to kind of streamline it as well. But this report is kind of identifying the timeline in how this information will come back to council. Previously, we provided this information back at the beginning of November for council's review. The timeline with it that is identified here is a little bit later than what we had provided previously. But some direction from what staff have been trying to do to pull this information together, not only within the principles of the 2026 budget review, some of the trending impacts to 2026 are identified in this report. essentially trying to continue to maintain core service levels for the municipality, as well as align within our asset management plan and manage our debt capacity and reserve adequacy, again, and also to support growth and infrastructure renewal. Some of the things to highlight in what Perth County is looking at for 2026 are some significant increases into some of our capital projects, which will be identified when we discuss capital. As everybody is aware, through our quarterly variances is the impact of winter maintenance where 2025 is approaching. Essentially, we're looking to be over budget in the winter maintenance by the end of the year by like 25%. And then as some, I don't know if everybody's aware, but Perth County, over the next 5 years, their remaining Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund will be eliminated. So there is about 500,000 still remaining in revenue that we receive from the province. So that provincial transfer will be eliminated in the next 5 years. So the information is there. So I'm just going to open up the floor for discussion.
Thank you, Corey. Council? Councillor Duncan?
Can you remind us again, Corey, why is the province eliminating the OMPF for the county?
So through the word to Councillor Duncan, so historically, the reason a rural community such as ourselves received that OMPF money was to help with the subsidy of farm land when they were receiving when paying farm at 1%. They reduced it, the province reduced it to 0.25. And so provincially, the rebate was coming provincially for that subsidy. As political parties change, I think they lose sight of the reasons why. But the County of Perth does still receive at the lower tiers that subsidy for farm. But it was decided back in the day that the Perth County component, the regional component, wasn't to receive any of that cash flow, and it was transitioned in relation to deferring it to others. So we were back in 2012, we were receiving $4 million in Ontario Municipal Partnership Funds, and then that was essentially reduced throughout the years to essentially eliminate. So as council is aware too, the province has actually increased that envelope to $600 million for 2026. And the member municipalities are actually receiving some additional monies related to that. But it's not incongruent to the subsidy that farmland should be receiving, but it is something from the province. So that Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund, I think they lost this line of sight of what it was essentially used for in Perth County when it was originally came into play in the early 2000s.
So 15 years ago, when I came on council, we started dealing with this OMPF issue then. We're still dealing with it today. And it's just a further and further urban-rural divide that the provincial government can't seem to understand. And I think it's, again, I hate to send staff on a commenting spree, but I think that our representatives need to hear from us and say, let's go back to the original reason the OMPF was created, and let's make the municipalities whole. So I'd like to make a motion that we send a comment to our elected officials and explain to them the importance of this funding and that it should directly equate to the tax dollars we're losing.
Thank you.
I can second such a motion. If I may offer some quick comments, I can remember my first delegation with the provincial ministries with the day Warden Mackenzie, us approaching, so that's 7 years ago, and talking to the Minister of Finance about OMPF and trying to give the Minister of the day an education about the history of that fund, which, Councillor Duncan, you have twice the service years that I have in this, and you've identified it's been around for a long time. The intention of the province should be that all of Ontario pays for affordability of food grown in Ontario. And that's what's been lost in this OMPF tinkering that's happened over the years, is that they've backed off from that connection. And unfortunately, you know, when you do the math, and I've done it several years ago, you can see how the extinction of the OMPF funds, you know, where they brought that fund level down, and yes, to Treasurer Bridges' comments, they've increased a little bit this year, but it's trinkets against what we would have received if the original system had been in place, or if the commitment to OMPF had been serious and reflected. Gee, I'm sounding like a cranky guy this morning. But like, you know, this goes back to the roots of what the intent was, which was an affordable food in Ontario policy. And now, as they've moved away from that commitment and extinguished essentially the fund in a progressive manner, they have essentially let the cities off the hook. The cities don't have to pay to support the affordable food in Ontario strategy that ultimately was part of the original intention of this fund. So somehow we need to get that message through once again. And so I'll support the resolution. I just wonder whether it ever gets through.
Thank you. We're going to read the resolution and I'll listen to other comments. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So through the warden, moved by Councillor Duncan and Councillor Kingsmore, seconds, that council directs staff to send comments to MPP Matthew Ray and the Minister of Finance regarding the importance and purpose of the OMP funding to the County of Perth.
Are you fine with that? Okay. Any additional comments? Go ahead, Sue.
Could we add the OFA again, because they touched on that yesterday about this exact issue. So they are aware of it, they're fighting for us, let's have them support us.
Thank you. Councillor McKenzie?
Well, I guess further to Councillor Orr's comments, you know, we keep forgetting, and I think it's just because of what happened recently, but there is more than one farm organization, and I think we should treat them all the same and copy them all. But I think also a copy, we're sending this to the Minister of Finance, I think the Minister of Agriculture, and probably the Minister of Municipal Affairs. Doesn't hurt.
Thank you.
And I guess I'm going to, this isn't part of the resolution, it's a question that I've got fresh in my mind. So is it time, and maybe it has been asked for, I'm not sure, but maybe we need to have another delegation at Roma with regards to MPF funding, you know?
Through the warden, so the closing was earlier this week, but certainly we can still reach out, see if there's an opportunity for that.
Well, we're reading, yeah, no, I won't elaborate any further, but if it could, like, we're there anyway, so.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Wilhelm, do you have your hand up?
Not on this after this resolution.
Councillor McDermott?
And actually, I'm sure Councilor McKenzie too can remember. I can remember on our farm when we sent that stuff into the province and got our rebate back from them. So I mean, there's people still alive that can remember that when that was done and stuff like that. So I would think Councilor McKenzie would be a good person to go and talk about that.
You have as much gray hair as I have.
But you have more experience on council.
I also have more hair.
Warden Kalamazoo. Here we go. Councillor Higgins.
Very worried how, but you know why they changed it, because they didn't want to get it back. So they did it this way, so they could keep that. That's the crux of it all, right? It's another way for the government to figure out how to get money, and that was to let on they were gonna give it back the way they did before, and they don't. It's not even close.
Read the amendments or?
Absolutely. Just making a quick change, sorry. Okay.
I don't have the gray hair, but I can remember.
So through the warden, If I'm capturing everything correctly, the council directs staff to send comments to MPP Matthew Wright, Minister of Finance, the Minister of Agriculture, the Minister of Municipal Affairs, Christian Farmers of Ontario, Ontario Federation of Agriculture, National Farmers Union, regarding the importance and purpose of the ONPF funding to the County of Perth. It encapsulates everything.
It's good with the mover and the seconder. Any further discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Now, Councilor Wilhelm?
Yes, further to the budget process, I guess a couple of things. I'm not sure what the budget higher level means. I'm hoping that there's lots of information in this that we can draw. Get right down to the root of where the costs are coming from and increases. And I'm disappointed that I thought we were going to be in single-digit increases after 25, and I see we're in the double-digit increases again. I just don't know how many years in a row we can continue with double-digit increases in our budget. And so I'm very concerned about that.
Councilor Smith?
Yeah, thanks for the Gordon. Corey, the timeline for phase 2, you have December 18th as the budget binder to council. And obviously tomorrow is November 21st. Will we be able to get the budget binder before the 18th? Because I see we have the council meeting on the 18th. Like next week, even, I don't know, it'll be in draft, but are we able to get before? Obviously, our agendas come up before the meeting, but it'd be nice to be at the binder sooner.
Through the word to Councilor Smith, depending on the further discussion in relation to the format of the binder, the 18th would be the date that we would be able to pull everything together, higher level, to provide that to council. So through the timeline as well is identified that the deliberation wouldn't occur until the new year in January.
Councilor Agates?
Through Warden Kellum, I know staff has changed the process. I think the process needs to be changed again, and I think council needs some input on how that process is changed. Once again, we don't have line by line. We're expected to approve a budget of over 11%, which to me is about 2.5 million, and I don't get to know the details. So when I pay a bill, I don't get a lump sum of what I owe. I get a detailed bill to tell me everything that I'm paying for. So I'd like to see in our motion that council is going to receive the line by line. I'm not saying we have to discuss it line by line. I'm saying that we have it. If we have questions, we can ask what those items are, and that gives us a better understanding of what's going on. Also, Perth East budget's done. So I'm a little perplexed why it takes so long here. Like, we've had our 2 meetings, we did our capital, we did our operating, and now we're gonna sit and wait. Last year, this budget almost didn't get done until April. So we gotta find a better process to get it done a little quicker, because we can't wait till next April for staff to be trying to get their contracts out and everything that they need to do and we got a quarter of the year over, and they don't even know what they get to spend or if they get to spend. So I think this whole process needs some major fine tuning. And like I said, I'd like the line by line added to the motion, that council is going to receive that as well with the package.
We talk about line by line again, you in the report, but you don't actually want to present it line by line to us.
No, I don't want to present it line by line. They can still present it as a high overview, but then we have the opportunity to say, you know, this line's in there, what is that? Why is that there? If we want to take things out or we want to question what's going on, we have a better idea. I'm not comfortable, and I will not approve a high level budget when I don't know all the details.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Councilor Orr?
Sure. I have 4 little notes here. Again, I would say that I prefer to have the budget process start in September. And if we can't get it right this year, for the following year, I think it needs to be started earlier. I really don't like that December 18th, it basically is the Christmas season, and I gotta go home for my Christmas holiday and worry about this. I would rather be ahead of the game there, and I do think that it helps with getting contracts and that we could bid on items, and it might be helpful to have them out for early bid. I don't believe that council has really any input on this. I think we're already reactionary on this. I would have specific questions that I want asked in this budget, and I feel like I'm gonna ask that in January or February. I don't like that. I would like us to pull out what it costs for municipal shared services, because I think that's a large part of our budget. We take heat for that, but it is what we're all a part of. If we could have a number as to what that cost is, that percentage, that would be helpful for me when I have to explain it, why we potentially have a double digit. And I do have a request that we have a review for the cost of the tree bylaw. I really struggle with how many people showed up at each of these meetings and the amount of cost. And that's one thing, that's an example for me that I would like clearly laid out. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Corey's taking notes aggressively there. So Councillor Kiesenberg?
Thank you. I have perhaps a different inclination, and I'll share that. I'm not a fan of line-by-line budget items and budgets. I recall when I first stepped into the mayorship from the outside of the political environment, receiving, a 250-page plus document from the treasurer that reflected the North Perth budget draft, and being rather horrified by the notion that we're going in item by item, line by line, and looking at the possible expenses. I think, council largely, from a governance perspective, approves a strategic plan and listens to the plans and actions that staff proposes, and I think those get reflected again in the budget documentation that we receive in terms of departmental action plans and intentions. And if council looks at, I think that, and I'm going to trust, and Mr. Bridges will help us with this, but if council looks at the costs of the operation, we would find that clearly a majority, and probably a substantial majority of the funds are spent on staffing for the operational component of what we do. And so if in fact there's concerns about staffing with regards to whether it's too large or it's inefficient or whatever, council has one employee to deal with, the CAO, to determine whether in fact there's a challenge within the organization, whether there's slack in people's jobs or however we want to look at this, right? So I would argue, and then I'm getting there, sorry. I would argue that if in fact we have grave concerns about the costs and the expenditures of the county, it has to do largely with at least the operating side, with staff concerns that some may hold. I can't say I hold those concerns. And if that's the case, then the county council's responsibilities would be to dig further into our HR management framework to understand whether people have active and reasonable objectives and whether performance is to those objectives. I'd be far more interested if I have to do an audit of the organization to understand whether people are setting goals and achieving them or what's keeping them from being achieved, than looking line by line at budget and trying to make sense of it all and extract inferences or assumptions from that. I'm not saying that that's what I want to do, but I think that if we are concerned about the performance of the organization and what looks like elevated costs, then we have to turn to our human resource structures to begin to understand what's going on in the organization. I could tell you just one more anecdote. I certainly led the charge in my second year as mayor in North Perth to insist that staff propose and show us how they spent their time. And that's a painful exercise within an organization, but they did it. They brought forward a number of hours that they expected over the course of the year dedicated to various project work and routine work. And what council learned, and the warden and my colleague, Councillor Duncan, will remember, what council learned from this analysis of human resources was that we were 16 full-time equivalents short to achieve the objectives that council had set for the organization. And so sometimes if you do the work, you find out that in fact, the work isn't getting done. And the choices that you wind up having to make are to put aside some of the activities in the organization so that staff can actually breathe and do reasonable work as opposed to doing bits and pieces off corners of desks.
Thank you very much. You're on a roll this morning. And I must say, I echo all your comments from that. I'm not a line-by-line guy. My own opinion is that it's micromanaging. If I ever want to find out something, what's in the budget, our staff is wide open, that I can make the ask and they will deliver the answer to me. So with that being said, we can still put Councillor Eggett's motion on the floor first about the line-by-line.
I'd still like to, there's nothing worse than sitting here and we ask something and we hear, oh, that was in the budget. Well, how do I know that's in the budget when I don't get to see the line? And I know there's something coming in the budget that I'm not wild on, and I'll talk about it right now, is we took it last year and delayed it a year to map out Wild Hog. $25,000, if that's still in the budget, I want to know why. I want to know what that's going to benefit. And the chemical companies can't even figure it out. So why are we putting our taxpayers' dollars to something like that? The taxpayers want us to run this like a business. I don't run my business not knowing half my expenses. And I fly by the seat of my pants all the time. And I'm not doing that around this table either. As long as I'm sitting here, I want to know what the expenses are, what we're doing, and how we're doing it. Sorry, I'm not in a good mood this morning either, and it's getting worse.
That's fine. But anyway, then you have your say at the budget. If you want to pull something out of the budget, then that's up to you to do it.
Right.
Okay.
People don't have to pull anything out line by line. You don't even have to read it, but I want to read it.
Just a question again, when we get the budget, is that gonna be electronically? Like, we'll get a budget that it'll show every line, all that kind of stuff. But is there a possibility somebody could get a physical binder? I absolutely hate doing things on a computer because you're looking at something and then something else will come up. And then you just flip back a page and you can get it. I realize that I'm a dinosaur, but I just find that physically something is far easier to take in than on a computer.
Absolutely. If that's what you're requesting, then we can do it. It's no different than when Ingrid asked if anyone wanted a hard copy of the official plan.
Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor McKenzie?
Couple things. I think everybody's going to have this morning. It's really fun.
Last
I'm
meeting.
a line-by-line person, and we did do it, I think, might have been the last time when I was ward. And we went through a general. Okay, this is no good. We got to find it somewhere. We went through line by line by line. And at the end of the day, we took hardly anything out. Didn't make a big change because there was nothing there. I don't need to know why John wants 100 pencils and if he can get by with 50. That I don't really care, That's part of the operation. He knows what he needs. It's fine. The other point I want to make, I take exception to Councillor Orr's comments about the tree bylaw, wanting to know how much that cost. As I said at the last meeting, I thought we did a good job on that presentation. If I go back to when the official plan was, one of the comments we had was there was a guy on the screen from, I forget if he was from Hamilton or where he was. Why couldn't he be in the room and explain this to us? We took all our forces, went out in a public forum and had everybody there. I thought it was great that we had the person that does the prosecution. Never met the guy before, I hope I don't have to meet him either, but at least I know him now, And Marvin Smith, the average person never has contact with him. I think it was a great thing on the county's behalf to send that force out for these meetings to the 4 lower tiers. I think it was a good thing to do.
Thank you for those comments. Councillor Eggett's, and then.
Well, my constituency is horrible that 8 staff members came to that meeting and the cost.
But I'll say the same thing back to you, Rhonda. Those same people that you're talking about were the ones that complained about a guy on a video screen just not coming in person.
No, that was a.
So you can't have your cake and eat it too.
That was a North.
Point of order. Stop it there. Deputy Petrowski.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've been taking some notes here as well. And I'm doing a lot of listening and not a lot of talking right now. Perhaps in the future, I will be doing a lot of talking, and I foresee that I'm going to have to. We're going to have to get this budget stuff straight, one way or the other. Yes, I've got concerns about the budget too. Double-digit increase doesn't look good on paper, but what does it really mean to the health of the county in the present and in the future? And I didn't want to go down this rabbit hole today, but here I am anyway. I'll start back to last year. The concern was, finance presented the information. Oh, well, there's too many. If you don't have the year-end data, what is this year-end data? Well, those are estimates. Well, that's not acceptable. We need the actual year-end data. Warden Kellum and I listened to those concerns at this council and at private meetings with individual councillors. We made that adjustment. Now that's not acceptable. It just seems that whatever Warden Kellum and I try to do to accommodate everybody is not acceptable. Same thing with the tree bylaw. Warden Kellum and I and CAO Wolf sat down with Mr. Sager and with other department staff to figure out how best to address this tree bylaw. To Councillor McKenzie's point, we learned lessons from the official plan. Lessons learned. How can we improve this? We brought the necessary staff to the table because we thought it was important that everyone from staff be present to hear what the lower tier public had to say. Well, that's not acceptable because it costs too much. So if we're going to run this like a business, which kind of business do we want to run? Do we want to run it full on, or we just want to pick and choose which parts of the business plan we want to follow and which ones not? We don't really want to do that because it costs too much, or whatever the reasoning is. We did it to have everyone on board to listen, to hear the questions, and if there was a question came up, everyone would be there, somebody would be there to answer it, and not have people go away from a meeting and say, well, that was no good. They didn't answer my question anyway. Why did I show up? That's why we brought those people here. And I've been watching the different meetings, either in person or online. And we've got a lot of work to do. If we're going to work together and get this stuff sorted out, we got to get cut to the chase here and figure out how we want to do it. Because this going around in circles is just, it's not going to be productive for anybody. So that's my comment right now, and I'm going to leave it there. I didn't want to go down this rabbit hole today, but we should all just watch ourselves. After we have a meeting, we should all just go home and watch ourselves and think about what we're doing here. Because I do that, and between trying to keep up with the province's changes, I sit and watch and wonder what we're doing. And we've got some work to do in our own backyard in our governance as well. So I'll leave that there. Thank you.
Thanks for your comment. Anyone else? Seeing none, so would you like to, Councillor Agatz?
Absolutely. So through the warning, Councillor Agatz, please jump in if there's anything that needs to be revised on this. But my understanding that would be that the council receives the 2026 budget binder inclusive of a line-by-line overview. Just include the line-by-line in the budget binder.
Is there anything else you'd like to add? So you'll so move that?
Yes.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Councillor Smith, questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. And then finally, this resolution?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, no problem. That council receives the 2026 budget format and timeline report for information. Moved by Councillor Kasenberg, second by Councillor Wilhelm. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, everyone. On our agenda, 8.4.1, and thank you, Corey. CAO. We have Mary coming up for the compensation review for elected officials. Yeah. Morning, Mary.
Thank you. And I believe we have
Someone else joining us? Yeah.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me? Good
Yes, we
morning.
can, Marion. Good morning.
Good morning, Warden and Council. Happy to be with Council this morning. I have a presentation that's included in your staff report, which I'm pleased to go through with Council, just give a sense of the project methodology and the observations that were brought forward to Council. And I'm happy to take questions as we go through, Warden, or we can hold those to the end. I'll just follow your lead.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and the clerk is driving the screen, so I'll take the next slide, please. So this slide sets out the background and the objective for the review. So by way of background, I understand that compensation for elected officials was reviewed in 2013, and this resulted in an annual honorarium in the amounts of $24,000 for warden, $11,000 for counselors. The position of deputy warden was not identified. A meal allowance and meeting per diems, half and full day, were established, as well as stipulations when 3 meetings or more were missed. In 2016, rates were adjusted again to reflect the honorarium for the warden at $24,946 and for counselors at $11,433. Per diems were set for full day at $165.85 and for a half day, $109.56. Professional development was set at $4,000 per year and $6,000 for warden. In bylaw, it was noted that honorariums or per diems would be indexed annually to inflation. So bringing us into today's date, I was retained to conduct the 2025 compensation review for the County of Perth council positions. We reviewed municipal comparative information that was collected by the county staff, and we prepared a base pay market summary using various percentile targets. We followed the same approach that we've done for many councils across the province in this review. Of course, results were always different depending on the council that we're doing this for. The results in this report, of course, are prepared for council's consideration as they work through the matter. I'll take the next slide. So this slide sets out the current remuneration and pay practice for County of Perth elected officials. You can see at top of screen the annual base pay rates. For the warden, it's $31,614. For deputy warden, $14,490, and the same amount for counselor. The base pay increases are based on a COLA or cost of living adjustment with no defined pay policy or pay or percentile target. And the increases are completed once per, or the review is to be completed, I understand, once per council term. There are 10 members of council, including the deputy warden and the warden, and the base pay rate compensates for council meetings, and an additional per diem is provided for attendance at conferences, workshops, and other training events, as well as committee and subcommittee meetings. And those amounts on a daily basis are $210.18, where there's a meeting over 4 hours, and for a half day per diem rate, it's $138.84. That's if the meeting is under 4 hours. The kilometerage reimbursement is at 66 cents per kilometer. Take the next slide. So in terms, again, continue on with pay practice, the technology assets including laptops and cell phones are not provided by the county. Additional allowances include meal allowances for conferences or full day events, and they are broken out by meal, as you can see on screen, with a daily maximum of $85. The amounts can be combined on a number of meals purchased up to the daily maximum if all 3 meals are required. So there's some parameters around that. In terms of professional development allowance, council permits an annually approved amount per counselor for attendance for professional development at events and conferences. And this includes travel, conference costs, accommodations. In 2025, I understand that the approved maximum total spend is $6,000 for warden and $4,000 for each counselor. I'll take the next slide. So by way of overall summary, having done the analysis on the information provided, It appears that the 2025 base pay remuneration for warden, deputy warden, and counselor is low when we're comparing to the defined pay market. And that's when we're looking at a particular percentile target of the 45th percentile, which I'll speak to a little further in a minute. When we're looking at the differential, the warden is about 25% lower than that target. The deputy warden is about 73% lower, and counselor is about 57% lower. So there's quite a gap. The 2025 market summary that was prepared shows that the annual pay rates at the 45th percentile of that defined group are as follows. The warden at $39,606, deputy warden at $25,114, and counselor at $22,771. The other elements of remuneration are generally comparable, other than the provision of laptop in terms of a technology device. And I have more sort of that I can offer in terms of a comment on that in a few minutes. This slide sets out the sort of a reference point for the methodology and the source data used. So initially, we had identified 18 comparators. The 18 comparators were then further refined to reflect a more conservative set of comparators, and they were run up against following selection criteria. We were looking at measures of size and scope and geographic location across the province. A custom survey was ultimately prepared using 11 comparator organizations comprised of 7 counties and 4 local area municipalities. So for counties, we are looking at Lambton, Bruce, Lennox, Addington, Middlesex, Dufferin, Peterborough, and Grey. The local area data that came in was Perth East, North Perth, West Perth, and Perth South. Now, just to step back, typically we wouldn't be, if I were doing and I have done council remuneration studies, we typically compare like for like. So we would be comparing county compensation to other county guards to the Perth County elected officials. And so we brought that into this study, okay? And again, it brought it into a more conservative lens. That was the result. The number of council members in the comparator municipalities range from 7 to 17. Okay, we'll take the next slide. This has got a lot of numbers on it, so I'm just going to step back and I'll break those out for council. So you can see at top of slide, there's a description in terms of what these percentage differentials mean. So I'm going to just take you to the numbers within the base pay market summary. You can see to the left in the white area, we have the current base pay rates for warden, deputy warden, and counselor positions at the County of Perth. As you move over to the green space, this is the compilation of the market information. So you can see various percentiles that are showing. The first column that's in the peach is the 45th percentile target. So just to sort of explain that while we're on this slide, where we have 11 observations, I'll just use the warden for example, that's the top row. That means we have 11 comparator matches for that position. If I were to rank order, as I did, the comparator matches from the highest paid match to the lowest paid match, the 45th percentile is the dollar amount, which you see there, $39,606. That's the dollar amount where 55% of the values are above and 45% are below. So this is not the highest, this is not the lowest, it's not the middle. It's below the middle of that group. And the same holds true in terms of the approach for the deputy warden and the counselor. You see the percentage differentials, they were reflected generally on the previous slide. And that just means we would have to increase the warden's current base pay by about 25% to get to the dollar value that you see at $39,606. So it just showing a differential. As you move across the screen, you can see higher percentile targets are noted. A higher percentile target, based on the methodology that I've described, is going to derive a higher dollar amount. So you see the dollar amounts are increasing as we move across. This is a similar methodology, the same methodology that we used when we were preparing an analysis for the management non-union group when we did that review last year. Okay, so it gives us a sense of how we rank and how we compare. Okay, I'll take the next slide. So in the compensation philosophy or policy, if you will, for the management non-union employee group approaches the 50th percentile pay target. The management positions are at the 45th percentile and the staff and bands 8 and below are at the 50th. So this is where the anchoring in and around that 45th percentile that you see on the previous slide was derived from. Base pay rates for warden, deputy warden, and counselors are all below all targets that were identified for the group. And you can see that based on the analysis that I showed you. Given the deviations identified for all positions when compared to other municipalities, I think that the 45th percentile is a conservative placement, and it mirrors that of the non-union management staff. The 40, and this is in words what I just explained when I referenced the previous market summary. Again, the 45th percentile is the dollar rate, where 45% of the wage rates in the comparator groups are below and 55% are above. So it's below that midpoint. Okay, I'll take the next slide. So drilling down a little further, this slide gives you a sense of range. Okay, so the market rate for the warden, and I put in brackets mayor, not that our warden is the mayor of the county, and so I just want to be clear on that. But we were also comparing to the pay rates for some of the mayors for 4 of those local area municipalities within the county. So the market rate for that comparison group is, as I said, $39,606, and the pay rates are ranging from $9,720 up to $91,195. So quite a range. The current pay rate for the warden at the county is below all other counties in the comparator group. Okay, because as I said, these ranges include the full set of 11 comparators. Moving to the deputy warden, the market rate is $25,114. The pay rate ranges in the comparator group range from $6,546 up to $48,433. There are 9 comparators that have a deputy warden or a deputy mayor. The pay rate for council, market rate for councilors is $22,771, and again, the ranges run from $5,587 to $29,880. I can say for all 3 elected officials, when we're looking only at the county comparators, our county of Perth are the lowest amongst that group of 7. Okay, so these ranges are inclusive of those 4 local areas. I just wanted to be clear on that. Okay, so I'll take the next slide.
Excuse me, Mayor, we have a question here, please.
I just have a question.
Hi, Councillor.
I want to do it now or later, but
Who knows?
like when you go back to the comparators and how we're paid, so I'm the mayor of Perth East, right? I get a lump sum, but if I go to another meeting, I don't get paid to go. That is in my lump sum that I'm getting, right? Okay, so I don't even know what I get a year, 30,000 maybe. Let's say that any meeting I go to, that's all I get. I don't get over and above. I don't get a per diem every time I go to a meeting, unless it's training. There's certain things, and I'm not sure how the rest of you do it in yours. If you're, like, if I go to training, I get paid extra, or if I went to, like, Municipal Day yesterday, I get paid extra. But here at the county, when I was the warden, if I went to an extra meeting, I got paid a per diem. I'm not sure how you do it. It's a smozzle because you're not just sure if you should put in for things or not put in for things. Like if I went to a dinner and I got my dinner paid for, I didn't feel that I should put in for a per diem too and have my per diem paid for and my dinner. So it's really hard to wrap my head around. Are we comparing really apples to apples? Because some of them, like, I'm not sure what the other 3 municipalities do it. If you get that one lump sum that comes for all your meetings, or you get extra money. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I know this, you know, we're a little bit lower than what we are, but if you took the market or the rate that the warden got and you put in for just about everything you went to, your salary gets pretty high. And we see that when we do the numeration. So I'm like, just a comment.
Good, thank you. Please continue.
Thank you, Warden. I'll take the next slide, please. Okay, so this part of the summary report talks about the ancillary or the additional remuneration over and above that base pay. So for the most of the comparators that were surveyed, the base pay rates that were analyzed on the previous slide compensates for council meetings, committee meetings, and special meetings of council. There are 3 comparators that report additional remuneration that's paid over and above the base pay. And that would be for attending council meetings. 2 comparators are providing a rate for half-day meetings, and those range from $93 to $145, and also full-day meetings, $185 to $200. And 1 comparator provides a meeting rate of $69.23 for any service to a maximum of 2 hours. So just in terms of this, amongst the 11 comparators, 3 of those 11 are, in addition to the base pay rates that we've analyzed, also providing some additional per diem rate, as we are doing at the County of Perth. And this is common across the province. Some do and some don't. So we've just reflected on the data that we've collected for this review amongst this comparator group. 7 comparators are reporting additional remuneration over and above base pay for attending special council meetings or subcommittee meetings. 3 provide a flat rate for half-day meeting, full day meetings. I'm not going to put the numbers out, you see them on screen. And 3 report a flat day meeting attendance. And 1 comparator provides an extra $125 a month for committee chairs. So you can see the ancillary. What you see by these last 2 bullets on slide is the pay practice varies amongst municipalities for anything other than the base pay. Some don't provide anything at all. Others will provide a per diem, full day, half day, for different purposes. Okay, take the next slide. In terms of salary adjustments and reviews, 10 comparators provide an annual economic increase to base pay that aligns with the economic adjustment provided to staff. This has become a common practice across the province, I would just say, and you can see it's prevalent amongst our group. Some committees report a percentile benchmark for base pay ranging from the 50th to the 60th percentile. I would also say it is very common in municipal elected official compensation to align with a percentile target that has been defined for an employee comparator group. And you can see some of that reflected in this second bullet. A majority of our comparators report that compensation reviews are conducted once per term. And again, that's prevalent across the province in terms of practice. In terms of pension and benefits, 1 comparator is reporting participating in the OMERS pension plans, so that's not prevalent amongst the group. 2 are reporting that they offer group benefits. 1 of 2 reports that county councillors are covered through the county's benefit plans for life, AD&D, up to a maximum of $25,000, and then they'd be eligible to receive extended healthcare, dental, vision through the county's benefit plans. And 1 is reporting that premiums are shared, and you can see that reference at the bottom of the screen. We go to the next one. In terms of technology and office support, 8 of the comparators are reporting that they provide laptops or tablets for the term of council. And 2 of the comparators provide a laptop for the warden only. 2 comparators are reporting that technology assets can be purchased at the end of the term, and 1 offers the technology as a gift. 7 are providing cell phones, and 5 provide cell phones to warden, mayor only. Warden, the warden or the mayor. And one provides to the warden and deputy warden. 1 comparator provides $650 for each member of council as a stipend towards expenses related to IT requirements, and 1 provides a monthly stipend of $600 to the mayor. So you can see practice varies. Since the writing of this report, the summer report, I've learned that I understand that there are laptops provided by the local area municipalities, of which, you know, the members of council are representing around county table. So it's, again, the practice varies across the province. Okay, so we'll take a look at the next section, which is travel and expenses. One comparator reports a car allowance for warden of $700 a month. So car allowances aren't prevalent. All of our comparators are providing a kilometer reimbursement. And those rates range from 58 cents to 72 cents per kilometer. And 6 are allowing for reimbursement for travel to and from council meetings. And all of our comparators are providing or apply the same travel reimbursement rate within or outside of the municipality. In terms of training and conferences, 8 comparators report that they're providing a per diem for full or half day attendance at conferences and workshops or training events. The half day per diems range from $47 to $145, and the full day per diems range from $97 to $248. One comparator provides a training reimbursement of $3,000 a year. I'll take the next one. Thank you. So by way of conclusion, I think the comparator group is conservative and representative based on select criteria. I would say there is not one county in the province of Ontario that is fully aligned with another. So it is not the easiest task to take in terms of finding a representative pool on which to garner some, you know, analysis on base pay. But it is an important exercise to work through. So that's what's been done here. The 45th percentile pay target is conservative and reasonable, in my view, based on the size and scope and the pay practice of the comparator group. It is prevailing practice in the province to generally align the percentile target for council base pay to the base pay target for the employee group, the management non-union employee group. And that forms the basis of the recommendation here in terms of targeting the 45th percentile. So in order to do that, the base pay rates are going to require an increase, and that should say warden and councillor. It shouldn't say mayor, councillor. It's actually all 3 elected official positions. All other elements of remuneration are comparable except for the reference to technology assets. And I've done a bit of a byline on that because of information that was just, and it's reflective of information recently provided. I'm not sure that that's the pressing point at this point. I think it's more so the base pay. It is best practice in the province to increase annual base pay for elected official positions on an annual basis by the amount used to adjust the employee's salary grid. This has been prevailing practice for many, many years. And this is allowing for a year-over-year increase that will align with cost of living. It's been supported as well by the survey results for this review. And it's also evolved to being best practice to review compensation once during the term of council using a survey of comparator municipalities. And on that point, many councils will review, both local and at a county level, review their compensation with a view to putting increases in for the next term of council. And so this has become a pretty active time in the sector as we get ourselves ready for next year's election. Take the next one. In terms of recommendations, it's recommended that council give consideration to implementing the following base pay adjustments effective the commencement of the 2026 term of council. And of course, these are 2025 numbers. This is the work's been done this year. So if we're moving into 2026, then we would need to make some adjustments for COLA in order to get us into that space. And of course, that would be for council's consideration. For the warden, the value is 39,606, deputy warden 25,114, and councillor 22,771. It's also recommended that council continue the practice of adjusting base pay for the elected official positions annually by using the percentage economic adjustment provided for the management non-union employee group, their compensation grid. And in terms of review period, it's recommended that council adopt a practice of reviewing compensation once during each term council. Typically, this is done in consultation with a third-party consultant. and also prevalent that we would be using a comparison with comparative municipalities. In terms of technology assets that I've reflected on earlier, I was writing this report or discussing it with the project lead at the county. I was recommending that council give consideration to supplying a laptop or iPad. It appeared, based on the information provided by the comparators, that we are gapped here. However, it's come to my attention, as I said, since writing this and moving it forward, that there are laptops that are provided at the local area. So I don't really think that that's of the burning issue, but I would say the base pay rates for the council elected official positions at the County of Perth are low, and it's something for council to consider as you move into next term of council. I'll happy to take any further questions, Warden.
Thank you for your presentation, Marion. Okay, colleagues, I'll open up the table. We'll start with Councillor Smith.
Thanks through the warden, Marion, for all your work you've done on this. The only thought with no recommendation is the professional development. That was set, it would be 10 years ago next year. It was set in 2016. And obviously the hotel rates, the registration rates, they've increased. That would be the spot where perhaps maybe an increase, in my mind, would be needed. I'm not sure that I'm in favor of increasing the base salary for a counselor, for instance. That's $6,000. We're faced with a tough budget coming up, as we all know. And again, you've mentioned about the laptops. There's no need for those at the county level. We all get our devices at the lower tier. So that's just some of my comments.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Agates.
Your Warden Count, I agree with a lot of what Jerry's saying. I think if we increase anything, I would like to see the per diem increase that we're paid if we go to an event that day, because for some of us, or maybe all of us, especially where you work for another person and you give up that pay, and if you have a family, some of the counselors can't afford to do that. Like if they only get say 130 from us or 240, whatever it is, and if they're actually leaving their full-time job, I'm sure they're making more of that in that same time period. So I'm wondering if we should be just upping that. I think the base pay, I hear what she's saying, and it needs to increase, but we got these budget squeezes that's coming at us too. Or if we do anything, we do it over a number of years. Don't do it all in the first year. If the council wishes to give some kind of an increase, you do it over 2 years, 3 years or something, so that the blow isn't quite as hard at once.
Thank you. Councillor McKenzie.
So I do sometimes agree with Councillor. I think, and I don't know where we're going with this, but I agree, like, I think it probably does need to be adjusted. And if you're going to adjust it, I think you have to phase it in over a period of time. I don't think it's something that you can do in 1 or 2 years. I think you'd have to phase it in even maybe over a whole term of council. There's no question, as has been said, it's the lowest of all the counties. So that tells you something. And I think to continue to get quality representatives on council, you've got to remunerate it properly.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Duncan.
Every time I sit through one of these, it's kind of difficult because the optics of giving ourselves a raise. My concern is if you do nothing, it just puts you further behind, and down the road, then you got to play catch up some more. So I think I'm going to agree with the other councillors on. I'm in favor of doing the raise, but let's phase it in over the whole term of council for the next council.
Thank you. Councillor Kasenberg.
I have no horses in this game because this will take place after my retirement. But I too think that if we want quality people seeking elected office, we need to have compensation that is reasonable. And given that we're seeing that where we sit now is not in accord with other places, given that we see that it's not even in accord with our own policies with regards to staff, I think that something should be done to sort of augment Councillor Duncan's thoughts there. I certainly would see a 3 to 4 year phase in, but I do think that we need to think about the first year of the 2027 year of the next council should probably see 50% jump towards that 100% goal of the increase, just to move the needle quickly. So I would think about that strategy as the approach to phase in. Again, in the interests of showing that there's commitment and that we value people's time who come into elected office. I do also want to offer that I actually prefer the county's system of meeting per diems and to some of the things that we experience in the lower tiers. While I'm happy enough for my lower tier base pay to pay for 2 council meetings a month, I think that we've seen in our own experience in North Perth, councillors with different workloads and for them not to receive any additional compensation to reflect that sacrifice in taking on additional committee workloads or busy committees, to me hasn't made much sense. So the fact that the county is actually paying engagement makes a whole lot more sense to me from a practical perspective, and I think that system should be retained and bolstered to the extent possible.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Deputy Warden?
Yeah, thanks, Warden Kellum. Yeah, with the colleagues around the table, I think phasing it in over time is the right tact. And the idea of leaning more towards increased compensation on the per diem basis makes sense. We're going to run this organization like a business and should be paid like it's a business, and it is a business. We have a budget that's between $50 and $60 million annually, and we have a lot of responsibilities, as we've already discussed in previous reports, and we have a lot of people to report to on different levels. So I think it's important that, contrary to any media reports that might circulate differently, what the people on county council do is very important, and it involves a lot of time, energy, and effort. It should be compensated accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Go ahead.
Thank you. Through the warden. So we're looking for direction today on this. And then, of course, we would have to bring the bylaw back, right? So we're not asking to pass the bylaw today. Just give us the direction, and that way you'll have a full bylaw in front of you to be able to see it all in context.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? So as I look around this table, I know that there's not one of my colleagues that are here because of the money. We're here because. But this is something, and I've talked to Councillor Wilhelm about this is something that we need to do every term, or we should be doing it every term. Since someone put it in the Beacon Herald this week, I believe I've had 9 phone calls and 6 emails, and I said just be patient until after Thursday. It's something that we do we do every term of council. So I agree with everyone's comments here. First off, what we'll do is we'll just if there's no one else who wants to speak. Okay, I have a resolution that reads that council receives the 2025 compensation review for elected officials report. Moved by Councillor Kaysenberg, second by Councillor Wilhelm. All those in favor? And that is carried. Now we're open. What would you like to do for the second one? Do I have any suggestions, Sarah? Councillor Kaysenberg.
I think that I would put forward, and I'm open certainly to also collaborate, but I think that we would say that we want to reach the inflation-adjusted target for compensation levels of councillors by 2030, right? That's the end term of the 27 to 30 or whatever it is, whatever the date is, correct me if I'm wrong. And I would recommend that it be phased in, as I said, with a little bit of a front-end load. I think I would put, you following me, Violet? He's looking nervous. I would put 50%, the 50% of the total increase impact in the first year, and dole out the last 3 years in equal increments.
Councillor Wilhelm?
I would agree with Councillor Kasenberg, except I would like to see it done 1 year faster. So when they do the next wage review, it's already in place.
I like that idea. Thank you. Absolutely.
Does that work?
Tyler's going to read off and see where it goes.
So through the board, just again, trying to understand where we're going with this, the council directs staff to implement a phased-in approach throughout the next term of council with a strategic approach as outlined below. That approach should be year 2027, 50% of the suggested 2025 compensation review increase adjusted with inflation, also inclusive of COLA. Year 2028, 25% of the suggested 2025 compensation review increase adjusted with inflation, inclusive of COLA. And then year 2029, the other 25% of the suggested 2025 compensation review increase adjusted with inflation, inclusive of COLA.
Good with that. I think that reflects the collaboration. I think the only other piece that we should probably consider addressing, and we might need to go back to staff for information, is do we need to adjust our half-day and per-day or full-day rates at this point in time against the data? Do we know where we should know?
We can, actually, Marianne, do we have the data on the paid rates compared to base salary?
We have the range of per diem rates. We're within the range. If it is that we're looking to reflect an increase to the current per diem rates, I think some further work should be done on that. We just referenced we're in that ballpark, so we could take that away, Warden and council, to do that work and come back.
Yes, why don't we, if I might, then we direct staff to further evaluate the half-day and full-day rates for meetings and trainings, and bring back a report for consideration.
So that answers Councillor Smith's comments then, yes?
That, there's nothing mentioned though in the motion about increasing the allocation, the 6,000 and the 4,000, right? That would remain.
Again, is that something we can bring back?
Yeah, through the warden, yes. If you'd like that looked into, we'll happily do that.
You're fine with that? Okay, so the resolution, so moved by Councillor Kasenberg and second by Councillor Wilhelm. Any further discussion? Councillor Duncan?
We're gonna add in the annual adjustments, the review period. And I don't think we need to worry about technology assets. I think we all get a laptop and board here. I don't think that's needed, but I think the annual adjustments and review period for sure need to be added in.
I might, can we get the clerk to read where we're sitting?
Yes, you will. Give him a moment. He's typing.
All the information inclusive of those comments.
Go ahead.
So the warden, would this also include then a separate classification for deputy warden? Since right now they're.
Oh, yes.
Excellent. So through the warden, it would read that council directs staff to implement a phased-in approach throughout the next term of council with a strategic approach as outlined below. Year 2027, 50% of suggested 2025 compensation review increase adjusted with inflation, inclusive of COLA. Year 2028, 25% of the suggested 2025 compensation review increase adjusted with inflation, inclusive of COLA. And then year 2029, the 25% of the suggested 2025 compensation review increase adjusted with the inflation, inclusive of COLA. And then council directs staff to prepare a report and evaluate the cost of per diems. And that council adopt the practice of reviewing compensation once during each council term in consultation with a third-party consultant and a comparison with comparative municipalities.
Professional development.
Okay. Officer per diems and professional development. We'll add that into that line.
Sum it all up. Again, okay with the mover? With the seconder? Final comments? Call the vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Marion, for coming online with us, and Marion for the presentation.
My pleasure. Thanks, Warden, for giving consideration to what is never an easy topic, but I very much appreciate the time and look forward to working with the staff on the follow-on report. Have a good meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye.
Council, we have a few more items. Do you want to steam through it, or would you like a quick comfort break? I'm looking around. Keep going. Okay. Moving on. Council reports. You have my warden's activity report, where I was in October. Questions or comments? Motion that council receives the warden's activity report, October 25, report for information. Moved by Councillor Kasenberg, second by Councillor Agates. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. There are no bylaws. Does anyone wish to give notice of motion at this time? Councillor Kasenberg.
I will take the opportunity, Warden Kellum, thank you. Given our earlier discussion about budgets, I'd like to serve notice of motion with regards to evaluating the human performance management framework in the organization. I have a draft here. It's subject to change, but if I might just introduce this at this point, I think it reads as follows. The Council of the County of Perth directs staff to bring forward a report in association with the budget draft that explains and outlines the current methods of human performance management in the organization, including how annual goals for employees are established and confirmed, how workload is assessed and monitored, and how performance against goals are measured and reinforced. And that Council sees examples of the artifacts of the performance management framework in a future closed session meeting to aid understanding, and that employees of the County of Perth be required during the setting of their work objectives in 2026 to describe their duties, identify possible improvements in their work, and suggest any recalibrations in their work that may be warranted. I'll send it to you.
So I'll just say, stop typing. Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Kasenberg. So moved by Councillor Kasenberg. Do I have a seconder?
Notice of motion.
Motion?
Okay.
Just, we don't need a, oh, correct.
We take it,
You're right.
we'll list it on the next agenda.
Got it. That's when it comes back and then it gets reread. Yep. Good. Thank you for the clarification. Anyone else? Moving on to other business. I believe, Rhonda, you have something?
Yes, thank you, Warden Kellum. I have a couple of things. In regards to the forestry bylaw and the road tour, I'm just wondering when, I have three questions, I think. Advertising for this event, I've been asked a couple of times about the advertising and where they can find it, and we've been telling people, but I think they're looking for the official advertisement, so I think Tyler has some information on that.
So through the warden, great question. So we just completed the official road tour to all four municipalities this Monday, last Wednesday in North Perth. The social media assets have been created. I just have to review them. I got them yesterday. So we wanted to complete the road tour just in case there's any other additional information to add. So they should be going out by end of day today. After this meeting, I'm going to review them, make any necessary changes, and then we can start working with Sarah, Communications Officer, to start promoting that date. Be remiss if I didn't go ahead and just say right now that the Forestry Open House is December 10th from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock at Park. So that's in Milverton. So yeah, again, we will be promoting that starting today.
Okay, thank you.
So are you sticking close to that 8 o'clock, and what if things go over a little, if there's more questions or more comments, or are you gonna cut everybody off at 8?
Yes, so through the warden, we'll do a temperature check, see where we're at with that. Obviously, we want to gather as much information that we can from the public. We do also have the feedback form on our website, perthcounty.ca/forestry, that we encourage anybody and everybody to go and fill that out. But we'll just see how the night's kind of going. It's ideally be a good thing to have a hard stop, but if there's good communication and back and forth, then we will help facilitate that.
My second question is about the format for the open house. I've been hearing that staff are going to give their, I guess, road tour or whatever you want to call it, and it's very similar to what you brought to the lower tiers. But then I would like the public to have an opportunity to voice their opinions and all of council hear that. So if all of council were there, is this considered a council meeting? People have been asking me that question too, if all 10 of us are there. Is it considered a council meeting or not? And if it is, then maybe we should call it a council meeting, that it's a special council meeting instead of, I'm just trying to clarify the rules, I guess, first of all. So if we all show up, is it considered a council meeting or what's it considered?
So through the warden, it's my assessment that it would not be a council meeting. We're not advancing council business at that point. It's an opportunity, as I say, it's not a public meeting. It is an open house led by staff. It's not mandatory that all of council shows up. If council would like to show up and be there, they're just like any other member of the public listening for the information that will be provided. Going back to the format of the event, the structure is planned out. The way that we will present it will be similar to the lower tier presentation. I will give that similar presentation. After that is completed, the intent is to have a panel of Marvin Smith and Darrell Howerlich, the prosecutor, Hannah, if there's any questions that relate to stewardship or just trees in general. She's the expert in that. Set up a panel. We have frequently asked questions that we've heard from everybody as we've gone through, and we want to provide that information out. After that's complete, the intent is that we would take that group of expertise and go meet and have conversations. I think to kind of echo some of the comments earlier on today's meeting, there were a lot of lessons learned from the official plan process. I think the best way that we can go ahead and engage the public and make sure that we receive comments from everybody, because not everybody likes to go up and speak in a more of a conversational format. I think it'll help facilitate us receiving information in a way that we can then come back to council and present that draft bylaw.
I'm not done yet, sorry. I would sooner see that we have an open format that all of us can hear everyone's comments. I'm not comfortable that they only get to talk to a few people. It's council that's going to make this decision. It's council that's going to hear, decide what's in this bylaws. Council should hear the people. I hear what you're saying about the other things. We had at one time years ago, Walter would be there. I don't know if anybody, maybe Bob. We had what we called a special meeting of council. It ran just like an ordinary council meeting, a public meeting. The warden took control of the meeting. People got up and gave their comments. It never got out of control. People aren't there for that. They just want us to hear. They want us to hear what they have to say and their comments that they have to say. So I would like to see that we all hear the comments. And then after, I'd like to see that staff bring those comments back to all of council. We sit here and maybe a special meeting when we decide, yep, we really want that. We debate what we want in it, what we don't want in it, and then staff take it away and bring something back. Because otherwise, if staff takes it away and brings it back, it could go back and forth 10 times before we really get it hammered out. But council needs more of a say on what's going to happen with this bylaw. This is a bylaw that hasn't been changed for 60-some years, which just baffles me too, how it's got this far that we haven't done a lot of changes to. So I don't know if you need a motion to the effect that council, maybe we'll let Todd,
I believe Tyler wants to speak to it.
Yeah, so just through the warrant, again, just kind of understanding from a procedural perspective, again, like the open house is a great opportunity for staff to gather the information. And I think council will be informed. And again, that's part of the whole council process and coming back to a council meeting with those recommendations and the information that we will get will be part of that package that council gets in the new year when we bring the bylaw back, as well as an opportunity for individuals to delegate at that council meeting. So I want to make sure that just we have all the information.
Councilor Kingsmore?
I'm going to sound like I'm contradicting myself, actually, because as you heard me say earlier, I'm not wild about detailed line-by-line budget analysis. But with regards to this matter and the comments and concerns that are raised at this open house, I want to be sure that this council receives a fulsome report It doesn't edit anything out from both or all of the input processes that are public input processes, right? So I kind of vaguely share Councillor Eggett's concern here that if we undertake a method, and I can appreciate, the challenges of facilitation here, that doesn't allow people in an open setting to be heard by all of us who are in the governance role of this, then that report better be very fulsome. And it needs to include verbatims and all that kind of stuff. And so I sympathize with where Councillor Eggett's coming from here. And I'm expressing what I would expect to see if we don't follow the path that she suggested in terms of documentation before this council for decision-making in the near future.
Thank you. So through the warrant, I think that that's very important and something that we've considered. I think one of the pillars of legislative services is again, accountability and transparency. And any of the information that we do receive, whether it's through the feedback form or the event, is going to be highlighted and form part of the agenda report when it comes back to council. So anything that we do receive from the feedback forum or survey online, we're going to take that. And that information, there is no personal information, so people can go ahead and comment without their information being shared. As well as any other emails that I have received, I've reached out to those individuals to ask their permission for that to form part of the report as well. And if they do not want to give that, I will just simply redact their information and the content will still exist. So I guess my promise is that we will continue with full accountability and transparency as we would with any project that we put forward.
Councillor?
Can I ask what we are afraid of for having people speak to the group on the open house? I know that the official plan meetings were, vocal, but that's okay. We need to hear it.
So through the warrant, there is not a fear. There is not, that's not where this is kind of being driven from. For me, it's the ability to have engaging conversations with everybody. And so we feel like the format that we are putting forward best facilitates that. But yeah, there's not a fear of what we will hear, what we won't hear, because we'll hear it anyways when we go ahead and we have comments. So we feel that the best course of action is to sit down with each table and engage conversation. And I think part of the idea is that if council does so wish to be there, then maybe it'd be a good opportunity if we had 10 different tables that each one sits at a table and then can also hear the feedback. But yeah, it's not driven from fear. It's driven from, I think, the most efficient way that we can help facilitate public engagement.
Councillor Higgins?
I do have a motion prepared and I'll read it and see maybe if councillors, I'll bring it to you, Tyler, instead of you writing it down. I have it written down, but it's at the public meeting for the forestry bylaw, December 10th, be structured so that the presentation is given by the roadshow group from the county, and then residents / constituents be given the opportunity to give their comments to all of council and staff in a public forum with a microphone. And that staff will bring back a report to council in early January with a summary of the items that the public brings up, so council can direct staff as to what they want to include in the forestry bylaw.
So moved by Councillor Higgins. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Orr. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you.
And just one more quick thing, we kind of touched on this earlier. Some of my council members are upset of how the roadshow went. I know Walter already spoke for this about having 8 staff members there. Yes, they could have watched it on the video. She was more upset about the prosecutor and his body language and his demeanor, because he almost sounded excited about raising the fines for people. I know people have to be fined. Fortunately, that's the way the world's gone. But when he gets excited, like, he's our contract employer. he needs to present himself a little different. She was quite upset. She wanted that portrayed here at council, how that went at our meeting. The public doesn't see it because all the public sees is they only see the council, right? They don't see the audience. They didn't see him, but they asked, our council asked Jerry and Hugh and I to bring that forward, that our council's upset of how things materialized and how it went.
Okay.
Part of me, yeah, it was good he was there for the answers. Part of me, that was quite an expensive little adventure to go to four municipalities like that. And that's been brought to our attention too, that we've had phone calls from residents too, more than one.
I appreciate your comments, and yes, so as you know, that Deputy Warden and myself attended all of the lower tiers, excluding ours, because they're on the same night, or we had our own council meetings. But yes, I guess it's a learning experience for us moving forward, and we'll take it on. Councillor.
I just want to make one comment. This council table approved the roadshow. What we said, that's what we wanted to do, so
But I didn't
we
know
need to
that.
accept responsibility
Point of
for it.
order, but let's hear Councillor Duncan speak first.
I honestly, we said we wanted to do this, so
I get that, and over time you learn. Should have said how many people are going. I didn't assume there would be 8. I assumed maybe would be 1 or 2. I assumed Tyler would go, Rachel would go, and the prosecutor and Martha. I didn't think there would be all the other ones there. And I know we approved it, and sometimes we don't ask enough questions, and I've learned that. And then I'm getting old and I'm still getting stupider because I'm still not asking all the right questions, because I don't ask all that. And I know we approved it, but
And again, to Deputy Warden's comments earlier, if we didn't bring him, then we likely would have been criticized for not having him. So, Deputy Warden, did you want?
Well, yeah, I was just gonna, Councillor Duncan had kind of already alluded to. When we discussed the tree bylaw review, the warden at the time said we owe it to the people to review the bylaw in the aftermath of the OP process. So the Ag Working Group was given the assignment, do an investigation, report back. Ag Working Group did that. Council took that report, chose to go a different direction, the direction of the lower tier presentations. So council got exactly what it asked for, as Councillor Duncan pointed out. And regardless of body language or words used or anything like that, there was no malintent, either expressly or implied, one way or the other, by people's presentations. So I want to make that clear. And the point, if people are, I'll contrast this with Ms. Davidson's report earlier about Bill 60. Introduced within the last couple of weeks, had second reading, moved on for third reading. This county council doesn't operate that way. We take our time, we go through the steps, we bring the staff to the people so that the staff hears from the people. We're trying to do our job by bringing these people into these meetings because we think it's important. We care about what people have to say. There's no fear. The only fear or concern is when the meeting gets out of hand, like it did in Milverton, and it got out of hand in Perth South. That no longer becomes a meeting anymore. And that's not productive for anybody because then nobody gets heard. So we did our level best so that bring the appropriate people into the meeting so that presentations could be made, questions could be asked and answered on the spot without delay, and that everyone could hear those answers at the same place, at the same time. So we followed council direction to the best of our ability. If that's what it costs, then we're running it like a business, the way that a business should be properly run. And whether it's the same as a board meeting, corporate level, or a job site meeting, I've had many experiences like that. And we meet at LRT, we met at noon, daily situational meetings. And if that meeting went till 2 o'clock, it went till 2 o'clock. The scheduling meeting started at 3 and didn't end till midnight, it ended at midnight. So we will hear the people. If we have to sit there till midnight, and the caretakers at Perth have to kick us out, so be it. That's what we're going to do. We're exhausting every effort so that people can be heard. And if that's not good enough, then I'm sorry, I don't know what else we can do for you. We've done our level best. That's why we did what we did, and that's why we're going to continue to do that along the way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Through the warden, so this particular bylaw, it's supported by a staff team across multiple divisions. We have clerks, public works staff, planning, communications, and of course, forestry, bylaw enforcement officer, as well as the prosecutor. The staff have attended the local municipalities. They reviewed the bylaw and changes. And I did make sure, along with other senior staff, that the appropriate staff are in attendance to respond to the questions posed by those local councils. The prosecutor is a key position involved in the interpretation and the application of the bylaw. And it was very appropriate to participate in the review so that we could provide technical expertise when informing the local councils, so they were informed when providing us their feedback. This is very much in step with our usual practice when consulting with local municipalities on significant projects. To name a few, we just did that with road rationalization. We had the consultant, the expert there, along with staff. We had the OPA exhaustive, and we didn't have him in person because of cost. Certainly, we did respond to that criticism in this situation. And if you recall, the stewardship project also went out in the development of that project, and we had the expert attend each of the 4 local municipalities, as well as the open house, to talk about the development of what is now the content of our stewardship program. So it is very much in step with it. Obviously, when coming to some of these open houses, myself or the senior staff who are supervising some of the staff that are working on these projects, we try and make those meetings in order to support the staff. And when we can, we'll always do that in person. So just to add to the comments that are already there, it boils down to we're just doing the job. We do have an public engagement framework that we do follow that was put into place a few years ago by council. And we do take every effort to make sure we're in line with that and that we do support our staff who now, for the last several years, work in teams as opposed to many years ago when a lot of the project work was done just by the division. So.
Thank you. Councillor Kiesenberg.
I just want to sort of gently suggest that what we've heard, what we've just talked about, did get a little unkind or a little too personal about at least one individual who's been involved in the process. And I'm not sure I'm comfortable with the propriety of that kind of evaluation. I'm not particularly an expert on body language and would prefer not to be. And I'm not sure that it's incumbent on us in a civil council meeting to be raising that kind of concern about the performance of an employee or a subcontractor. So I'm kind of saying we need to be kinder. And if we have concerns about the employees or contractors of the county, that those should be raised with the CAO in confidence and not aired at a public council meeting where it doesn't feel our responsibility.
Thank you. Councillor Wilhelm.
Yes, I was not at Perth East Council meeting, but I was at Perth South Council meeting when this report was done. And I take objection to Deputy Warden's comments that it was out of hand. It was not out of hand. The mayor and council agreed that the public could speak. They spoke. I thought everyone was cordial. And I thought the meeting went very well.
Last one, Deputy.
I was referring Councillor Wilhelm to what happened prior to the Perth South official plan meeting. There was a separate incident with a separate group. I was referring to that in response. Other than the meeting itself went well, but I guess I should clarify that the incident beforehand where someone tried to co-opt the meeting, that didn't go well. And that's the concern going forward with this bylaw meeting, that I don't want that potential confrontation to appear again. So if I was unclear before, I apologize. I just wanted to clarify what I was trying to say earlier.
I think we have enough in this, or, okay, you have, okay, go ahead.
One quick comment, and I don't know if I've had the statement here, but I know Dean has heard my statement many times in their council. And Tyler talked about we're trying to be transparent, you know, and I looked at this whole tree roadshow as an educational process, and had it not happened, I'm guessing that West Perth probably would have asked them to come to a council meeting and just present it. And now my quote that Dean has heard many times, you know, I think if the public is given the same information that we have, they'll probably come to the same conclusion that we do. And I think that's all we're trying to do is get the information, collect the information, get the information, and go from there. But I thought, like I've said before, I thought it was well done, at least at our council meeting, it was well done. I think it's important to have the players there because otherwise we never see them, you know? And it maybe would have been maybe more appropriate to have them at county, have everybody come in that we never see. But from a West Perth point of view, it was well received, and I think people appreciated having the team there so that they could identify with them.
Thank you. Okay, was there anything else in your list, Councillor Higgins? That's it?
Thank you.
Okay. Any other business? Okay, we will move on to announcements. I have two things. I have a card that reads, to everyone at Perth County, council and staff, it is soon a year without a wonderful man. He is so missed. Our family would like to remind everyone that the kindness shown to us will never be forgotten. We like to think his strong opinions are occasionally echoing in the room, no doubt today, whether a family gathering or a council meeting. Remember, you can't fix stupid. Sincerely, Lori Aitchison. Yes, thank you. And Councilor brought this in for. And then finally, we have I'd just like to recognize a colleague, a friend, and a brother that was recently recognized for 30 years of service with the Perth East Fire Department. Councilor Jerry Smith. 30 years is a long time. I believe it's probably half of your life. And on behalf of County Council, congratulations. Well done, sir.
Thanks, Doug.
Okay. Any other announcements? I'm seeing none. There's no closed meeting. So we'll move right on to the confirmatory bylaw. Motion reads that bylaw number 4048-2025, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council of the Corporation of the County of Perth at its regular meeting held November 20th, 2025 is read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed November 20th, 2025. Moved by Councillor Wilhelm, second by Councillor McDermott. All those in favor? That's carried. And finally, that the council meeting be adjourned at approximately 11:18 a.m. Moved by Councillor Smith, second by Councillor McKenzie. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.